Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are packing for ICAST. We're heading down to Florida tomorrow, and we're going to spend a couple days with my dad down there in the Nature Coast area of Florida. And then we head to Orlando for my favorite event of the year. I used to like the Bassmaster Classic a little bit more than ICAST in the very beginning, but nowadays it's all about ICAST. I absolutely love it. It's just a lot of fun to reconnect with everybody in the industry, all my friends, and to see a bunch of new products. And so very excited about it. But yesterday when we got back from St. Jude, we had a couple of things waiting for us. I already did a video on the Alpha Line battery from ProGuide that I'm going to be swapping out my old AGMs with. But we also got a small package that I was not expecting at all from Z-Man, and it included a new bait that it was actually the first time I had seen it or heard of it, but it's called the Llama TubeZ. Okay, and we also have the Llama TubeZ jig head. Of course, this is a play off of the Llama himself. This is a Seth Fighter collaboration with Z-Man. And I thought it was pretty interesting, so I just wanted to show you guys. We're going to be talking a lot about it next week, but let's go ahead and dive in. I have not fished these baits at all, so that is the first thing I want to mention. And when I open the package, the first thing you see is good old tube profile. A tube has been around for a very, very long time. It's especially popular up north, or at least it was like super popular. Nobody fished smallmouth up north without having some tubes in their box. Nowadays it's kind of fallen out of favor a little bit, with the kind of the popularity of the Ned rig and things like that, and also drop shot. But I still think a tube is one of the best presentations for smallmouth, but also largemouth and spots too, as well as a variety of other fish species across the board. But anyways, so this is it right here. It's very, very small. This is a 2-inch bait. So this falls into kind of that range between micro baits and ultra finesse baits. I honestly was expecting, when I read the packaging, I expected it to be called something like TRD something or another, or Ned rig something or another, but because of the size. This is definitely a very, very finesse bait. It's got that. It's fairly classic design. You've got kind of a wider body. It's a little bit, it's not super wide body on the head portion, and then you've got, of course, the tassels on the back. Okay, and a tube is great because a few reasons in my book. Number one, the fall is really unique. It has a really nice spiraling, gliding fall to it, which I think is really, really important in clear water situations. Those fish just see it from long distances away. It looks very natural, and a lot of times your bites are going to come on the fall. But another thing that a tube does really good is it's just got that profile that can imitate just about anything. It can imitate a small goby, it can imitate a small crayfish, pretty much anything on the bottom, some type of amphibian. It's really just kind of open-ended as far as like what this thing is going to imitate. And I think, one thing we've learned with the Ned rig being so popular, I think we kind of broke that barrier where anglers just felt like, a bait this size is more of a crappie jig or a panfish jig than a bass jig. We've pretty much, crossed that line where we realize, okay, small presentations can actually catch really, really big fish. In fact, the biggest fish that I've seen caught on a Ned rig personally was I was taking a couple out on a guide trip on Lake Chickamauga, and the girl that was there, she ended up catching a 9.5 pounder largemouth on Lake Chickamauga with a finesse TRD. So they certainly will eat small presentations like this. So you've got this, the tube that they designed. with Seth Fighter. And then you've also got a jig head. You know, you got to have a jig head that fits it perfectly, because this is one of the smaller tubes that I've seen marketed for bass fishing. And so you need to make sure you have a tube for that. And so we're going to insert it. You know, this tube is, you know, designed to have that exposed jig, or that exposed hook point orientation, and it has that teardrop design that allows this bait, you know, when inserted into a tube, it really has a nice glide fall to it, because the weight is dispersed a little bit more on the shank of the hook. But this is it, you know, once it's finished up. Let's go, there we go. That is the full presentation. And you know, you can hop this bait, you can rip it off the bottom, let it fall, glide back down. You can drag it on the bottom. You know, all the things that you would normally do with a tube, you can do with this. And I would assume that the whole idea behind this particular bait is just creating a jig that or a tube jig that really falls in a size category all its own. You know, where you're really finessing these fish. And you know, Seth Fighter has talked about, you know, those very young crawfish being a big deal, and I do think that having a tube jig that can imitate, you know, smaller crawfish species is really, you know, important. I actually see, when I turn over rocks at launch ramps and such, I usually see more crawfish in this size range than I do, you know, the bigger ones where you normally see, you know, the tube jigs falling into. Yeah, I really like it. I have not fished it yet, so I'm excited to go try it. But really, it's a tube jig. It's, you know, it's not really gonna. I mean, there's no reason why this thing won't just absolutely smash the fish. And one thing I want to point out is, one of the most frustrating things about a tube jig is the fact that when you wear out a tube, you pretty much, you know, rig like this, you've got to just end up replacing it, you know, and you have to clip the line off the line tie and then restart the whole process, because you don't want to bring in the, let's do it the wrong way, like traditional plastics. You don't want to go this way. You can, but it's not as good. You don't want to come in that way and then pull your jig head in, because that's creating a big hole there. And as you catch fish, that hole is just naturally going to be created, because the hook's going to inevitably pull out like that through the nose. So ultimately, with traditional plastics, you're just going to have to constantly replace it. But since this is made of ElaZtech, you know, if the jig head pops out like that, you really just pull it back in. That hole isn't getting any bigger. You just pull it back in and make another cast. So I think ElaZtech is super well suited for a tube jig. I've seen so many people, so many comments over the years saying they need to come out with a tube, a good tube, design with ElaZtech, and I completely agree. They used to have a tube jig way back in the day, and it just wasn't a great design with ElaZtech. The tassels just weren't quite right for that material. But anyways, guys, I'm gonna have some time to you know, experiment with it in the tank at the booth at ICAST, and talk to everybody, and just kind of get a little bit more ideas as to the you know, the why of, you know, creating the Llama tubes. But I'm really excited about it. I think that this is going to be a killer presentation, not just up north, but for species, you know, smallmouth and largemouth, and spots down south too. So pretty excited about it. Let me know what you think about it. You know, just your first impressions, because I don't know of anybody that has it yet. I didn't even know about it until yesterday. So I'm excited to hear your opinions on it. So leave a comment below. And other than that, I got to keep packing for ICAST, so I'm going to take off. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. I'm going to see you out in the water. Trust the process.